Good morning again. I have a little word for you this morning out of 1 Kings chapter 19. This is a story of when Elijah was fleeing from Jezebel. And before that, in chapter 18, Elijah had just had the encounter with the prophets of Baal. And he called for fire, and fire came down and burned up the altar and the sacrifice. And they destroyed the prophets of Baal, and then Elijah ran faster than the chariot, and the rains came. So he had quite the spiritual experience. But then Jezebel threatened him, and that just turned him upside down. He ran off and hid and was crying out for his life, and an angel came and gave him bread to eat. There's another amazing experience of provision and of supernatural provision at that. But still he runs off to a cave here in chapter 19 and says in verse 10, he said, I have been very zealous for the Lord of hosts, for the children of Israel have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword, and I alone am left. And they seek my life to take it, or they seek to take my life. He said, go and stand on the mountain before the Lord. And behold, the Lord passed by, and a great and strong wind split the mountains and broke in pieces the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. So circumstances came by, but it wasn't of God. And an earthquake came, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. More things shaking up his life, but that was not from God. And after the earthquake, a fire came, but the Lord was not in the fire. Fires are pretty amazing, especially if it's a fire that looks like it's from the Lord. But it was not. And then a still small voice. And when Elijah heard that still small voice, he wrapped his face in his cloak and went out and stood at the entrance of the cave. And then he spoke with the Lord. So Elijah recognized that that still small voice was where the Lord was. And that's a principle for us to remember. The devil, our adversary, likes to try to speak to us in things that are chaotic, things that pressure you. I recall learning some years back that when you feel like you are pressured and you need to have an answer right now, or else something's terrible is going to happen, very often, if not always, that's from the enemy. If you need to act immediately, or you feel like you've been pressured by a car salesman, so to speak, and you got to make a decision today, that's usually not the voice of the Lord. He comes with the still, small voice. If you go over to James, chapter 3 and verse 17, it says, but the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, open to reason, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. And the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace. God's wisdom is pure and peaceable. He will speak to you, and don't get caught up in the natural aspect of it. If there's a storm, but there's pure peace coming to your heart, coming from within, that's the Lord. If it's peaceful outside and seems tranquil, but there's something wrong on the inside, there's chaos coming on the inside, that's the enemy. God is not in confusion. He's not the author of confusion, and he doesn't abide in confusion, but in peace. So seek his voice everywhere you go. Seek his peace everywhere you go, and you can abide in his peace. Amen.